Hey guys, I hope you're doing great today. This is our Git interview questions and answers lecture. And guys, after that, I will share the Git tiny mini little course for Git and GitHub beginners. So make sure that you must subscribe DevOps Molvi on YouTube and support this channel. Let's get started with our 50 important and most frequently asked Git interview questions and answers. So let's get started, and I will just slideshow. Okay guys, I have selected the most frequently asked questions and answers when it is related to Git. In one of my previous DevOps interviews, it was really surprising for me when the interviewer asked me to start with Git. So he asked a couple of Git interview questions and answers like what is version control, what is Git branching, what is the difference between Git fetch and Git pull, what happens if we download a file, and what happens if we run git clone. So these were the questions, and that's why I thought that I should share the most important interview questions regarding Git, and also I have included a couple of questions with their answers related to GitHub. So this is one of the important lectures either for a cloud engineer, if you're a developer, if you're a software engineer, MERN, mean, or full stack developer, you must be using Git and GitHub, right? So definitely you may be asked interview questions and answers regarding Git and also for GitHub as well. So here are the 50 questions of Git, starting with question number 1. What do you mean by version control? So it is a common question that what is version control? And the answer is it is the practice of tracking and managing changes to the software code. What is happening with the code? It is being updated on a regular basis. So how can we track those changes? So that is actually the version control. That process is actually the version control, which tracks and manages all the changes with your software code. And also version control software is used to track revisions, solve integration conflicts in code, and manage different artifacts involved in software projects. So version control is a complete process to manage your software code, and the version control, like we are using Git, and Git is one of the most frequently used version control software that manages and tracks all the revisions of the projects, branches, commits, and other changes uh, of that project in software development. So question number 2, what is the difference between revision control, source control, and source code management? Guys, this is just for confusion. It can be a confusing question, but the answer is really simple, and there is no such big difference between revision control, source control, and source code management. They're all these are the different names of version control. Question number 3. How do I delete a Git branch locally and remotely? I have created a local repository and I have a remote repository. For instance, if I delete a branch on the local repository, the command will be different. And if I want to remove it from the remote repository, it would be a different command. So git push -d and remote name like origin and the branch name, it will delete the remote, and git branch -d and your branch name, it will delete your local. And in most cases I have also mentioned that remote name will be origin, like git push -d origin, okay, and branch name release 123. Okay, so that's how we can delete a local and remote branch using these two different commands. Question number 4, how can we manage multiple Git branches efficiently? On this is obvious. In a single project, there can be hundreds of branches in a single software project. So it is also a challenging task to manage all those branches, and these are the four major steps to manage multiple Git branches in an efficient way. What is the first step? It is to use descriptive names for your branches. If it is a feature branch, then we must use feature 1 to 3. If it is a stable branch, we must use stable 1 to 3. Release branch 1 to 3. QA prod, and these are actually, I have already told in our Git commands and Git terms lecture that naming convention, what is a branch? This is a full lecture on Git branching, and I have also discussed Git branching naming conventions in which we can name our branches in an efficient and descriptive way. I can understand with the name of the branch what is happening in that branch. So this will make it easier to track what changes are being made in each branch. Make sure to comment your changes frequently, and the third is to use the git stash command to temporarily store your changes. I have worked and I have practically explained git stash in our previous lecture, 50 git commands, and we have used git stash, and it is one of the most amazing commands to to save our changes on a temporary basis, and then we can finish up our other tasks and we can come back and continue from that step. So git stash is used to temporarily save and store your changes and merge branches regularly. So these are the steps to manage multiple Git branches. Okay guys, question number 5, how can we push all branches on to a remote repository? There can be 100 branches, okay, and I want to push all those branches to a remote repository. Then these are the steps, and I have explained each step. What does it do? First is to get the origin, to fetch, git fetch origin, and this command fetches the latest changes from the remote repository named origin without modifying your local branches. We are not pulling the changes, we are just fetching the changes, and then after that we can push git push origin all. That is actually the switch, all, to push all the branches with this single command. So git push is the command, git push is the command, origin is the remote repository, and all means to push all the branches using this single command. Then we can run git branch minus git branch minus r to verify that all the branches have been pushed. Question number 6, what is the difference between git fetch and git pull? That is one of the most common interview question of Git. And the key difference between git fetch and git pull is that git pull copies changes from a remote repository directly into your working directory, and git fetch does not copy. That is the difference, guys. Git fetch does not copy the changes to your local working directory or your local repository, whereas git pull copies the changes, and that is the key difference. One command copies, one does not. Git pull copies the changes and git fetch does not copy the changes. Question number 7, what is the difference between git clone and git pull? So this is also an important question. Both commands actually bring changes, and what is the difference? The difference is git clone copies all the files to the local machine. When we run git clone repository URL, it means that everything on that repository will be downloaded, will be pulled, whereas git pull only copies the modified files to your local machine. And if once cloned, we can use git pull again and again to bring and download or pull the modified files to the local machine. Question number 8, Which command is used to switch between Git branches? I have branch A, B, C, D, and I am at branch A and I want to switch to branch C or D. So git checkout and the branch name. Then we can switch between different branches, and git checkout is actually the command. And I have shared the example as well. Git checkout release 1.01. So for instance, I'm at the main branch and I can use this command to check out from main branch or master branch to this branch. Question number 9. Please explain git clone command. What is git clone? So the answer is git clone is used to create a local copy of an existing remote repository. My remote repository on Bitbucket. My remote repository is on GitHub or GitLab, and I want to get this remote repository into a folder on my local VM, on my VM machine, on my Ubuntu machine, or even on my Windows. Then I can use git clone command and it brings the full repository, which is hosted on GitHub or any remote platform, cloud platform like GitLab or Bitbucket, a repository hosted remotely on a service like GitHub or GitLab. So this command is typically used when you need to obtain a repository for the first time. It not only downloads the repository's file, all files and folders, but also its complete version history. So git clone is used to fully download the remote repository. Question number 10. What is the purpose of .git folder in a repository? And the answer is this folder contains all of the information that Git needs to track changes to your code base, and it is an essential part of the Git workflow. So guys, in my Git commands, 50 Git commands lecture, you saw that we used git init command to initialize an empty Git repository. And once that repository was initialized, we saw that we had .git, a hidden folder, and I told you that it is just like a database of the Git repository, which contains objects, commits, and logs, commits history, revisions, etc. So this is actually the key folder of any Git repository, and it contains your original data files, all the log messages, author information, and other information required to rebuild any version or branch of the project. So .git is actually, without .git folder, you cannot work on Git, you cannot track changes to your code. Question number 11. What to do if .git folder size gets too large? So that is actually a related question with the previous question. So if your .git folder gets bigger and huge size, with a huge size, what can we do to reduce its size? We can run git gc, which stands for git garbage collection. Okay, gc, this gc stands for g garbage c collection, and it will clean up unnecessary files and optimize the local repository. And we can also use git clean command to remove the untracked files from the tree. So there are actually two commands: git gc, git garbage collection. We can run it to clean up unnecessary files, and we can also run git clean to remove the untracked files. And after that, .git file folder size would be reduced. Question number 12. How do I push a new local branch to a remote Git repository? I have that branch on my local repository. I have just created it. Then how can I push to a remote repository? The process is, first we need to check out this new branch. Git checkout -b and the branch name. A new branch will be created and we can switch to that new branch. Then I can edit files, add and commit in that new branch, and push with -u upstream, set upstream. We are going to push from our local repo to the remote repository. So -u is the switch to push upstream, and this is to set upstream, and then we can use git push minus u origin. Normally upstream is known as origin of that remote repository and the branch name. Git will also set up the tracking information during this push. So these are the steps to push a new local branch to a remote Git repository. The main thing here is to understand this minus u, which is used to set upstream, and set upstream means it is our remote repository's URL. So this is origin, and like origin main, origin master, and the branch name. Question number 13. How can I get a list of Git branches ordered by most recent commit? So the answer is we can use the hyphen sort is equal to hyphen committer date option in Git branch command. Like I have shared the example of this command, and it will get a list of the Git branches which are ordered by the most recent commit, and all the branches would be pasted and printed with most recent commits. Git branch hyphen sort is equal to hyphen committer date, which will print the branches ordered by most recent commit. Question number, by the way, the main thing you must know here is actually this switch hyphen sort is equal to committer date. Okay. Question number 14. What is the difference between git merge versus git rebase? And the difference is the git merge keeps the commit sequence intact by combining the histories of the two branches into a single branch. We saw that we can use git merge to merge two branches, and everything, the two branches with their histories is also combined, and so we can have a huge amount of commits because the commits of both branches are combined as well, and it can make our history or the branching tree as dirty. But if we use git rebase, on the other hand, rewrites history by putting changes from one branch at the beginning of another, resulting in a more organized linear project history. So the commits history would be clean in git rebase, and that is actually the key difference between git merge and git rebase. By the way guys, in my git commands I have run both commands. Git merge actually merges two branches and it merges their commits history, and it makes we can say that it makes the commits history a little bit dirty, and we can get the commits of both branches which are merged. Whereas whereas in git rebase it is more organized and it keeps the project history clean. Question number 15. Which one is safe to use now, merge or rebase? But actually merging is a more safer option, and because it saves the entire history of the repository. That's just like I told you that every commit, just like I told you that every commit and all the history of both branches is saved. So it makes the commits dirty, but after all we get the entire history of our repository. So merging is a safer option. Question number 16. What is a commit in Git? What is a commit? Okay, git commit minus m for message, and we just commit after adding the files, and it is a point in the project you can go back to if you find a bug or want to make a change. Okay, it is actually a point, and in every project we can use the commit id to back, and we can modify the commit, etc. And other definition is a git commit is like a snapshot of your project. Okay, this is more simpler to understand, that it is the snapshot. Each commit is the snapshot of our project at a specific time point in time, and when we make a commit, Git saves the state of your project. That is why it is a snapshot of our project. Okay, and it saves the state of our project, so that is why it is known as a commit. Question number 17. Conflicts usually happen in Git. That's true. And how can we explain a conflict in Git? The answer is a conflict in Git occurs when two branches have made edits to the same line in a file. For instance, there are two developers, A and B. They were accidentally working on the same file and they made changes onto the same file. But after that, a merge conflict started to occur. So uh, that is known as a merge conflict, and in which one or one branch deletes a file while the other branch modifies it. Okay, it can happen in that way as well. There are two developers, one developer working on branch A, the other working on branch B, but they were using the same file, and one developer deletes that file, the other modifies it. So it will be when they will merge both branches, it will cause a conflict, and it is known as a merge conflict. Now in the next question, we will discuss how we can resolve this merge conflict. So these questions are relatable, and the answer is the quickest and easiest way to resolve a conflict is to open that conflicted file. Okay, now we have to work on that conflicted file which actually caused the conflict, and we can make necessary changes. After editing the file, we can use the git add command to stage the new merge content, and the final step is to create a new commit that will resolve the conflict actually with the help of git commit command, and that's how we can remove or resolve a git conflict. Question number 19. What does git revert command do? The answer is Git Revert creates a new commit with the changes that are rolled back. Okay, or the second definition is the Git Revert command is used for undoing changes to a repository's commit history. So I have changed something in a file and I just commit, but I thought that okay, that change was not a good change and I want to undo the change. Then I can use git revert commit id to revert the changes. Question number 20. Git revert versus git reset. Now what's the difference? Both command have the simplest difference is git revert is used to undo committed changes. I have used commit minus m command, git commit minus m command. My changes have been commit. Then I can use git revert and that commit would be reversed. So it is for undoing changes that have been committed, whereas git reset is used to undo uncommitted changes. Okay, that is the key difference. One is used to undo committed changes, which is git revert. Git reset is used to undo uncommitted changes. So that is actually the difference, and you must remember that. Okay. Question number 21. What is a .gitignore file used for? That is actually a very simple question, and it is a text file which tells Git which files or folders to ignore in a project. Those files and folders are not tracked by Git. For instance, there are large video files or log files that we don't want to be pushed to our remote repository. Then we can add those files, log files, tar archives in our .gitignore file, and those files or folders would never be tracked by Git. Question number 22. What is git stash? And in my git commands lecture, I have practically discussed these commands in detail. So guys, Before that lecture, if you have not watched my Git commands lecture, I would strongly recommend that you must watch it, because all the commands have been discussed in that lecture. So the git stash command takes your uncommitted changes, both staged and unstaged, and save them on a temporary basis for later use. Okay. Question number 23. Can we see the commit logs in Git? Of course we can. And the command is commit log minus n. Git commit log minus n. And uh, how we can use it: git commit log minus 3 will print the 3 recent commit logs. Okay, so definitely we can use git commit. Sorry, I forgot to write git commit. It is actually git commit. I will update this file, and we can use this to view the commit logs. Question number 24. Can we modify our commits? Yes, of course we can. And the command is git commit hyphen hyphen amend. Amend means change, amendments like changes. So we can amend any commit. And I have practically changed the commit in our git commands lecture. Question number 25. How can we list down all remote repositories configured on our VM? And the answer is we can move, or we can get into that folder and we can run git remote minus v command to get all the remote repositories on our local VM. Question number 26. Talking about Git Reset, what does it do? What do we can what we can achieve from Git Reset? And the answer is Git Reset command resets the current head to a specified state. This means it can be used to undo changes, unstage files, or move the head pointer to a different commit. Okay. Uh, the basic concept is that we can reset the changes and unstaged files. We can remove them. So git reset command is used. What is the difference between a soft and a hard reset? Now there are actually two types of git reset hyphen hyphen hard, or git reset hyphen hyphen soft. So most of the times I have used hyphen hyphen hard reset, but there is actually a difference. What is that difference? Soft resets the head pointer to a specific commit, and the changes are staged. Okay, there is nothing to do with the changes. Files remain modified in the working directory, and we can recommit those files. Whereas git reset hard is actually a strong or forced command which resets the head pointer to a specific commit, and it discards all the changes in the working directory and the staging area. So we must use, because all our changes, whether they are committed or not, and unstaged changes, they are all gone. So git reset hard must be used with the caution, as I have mentioned here, because it permanently deletes uncommitted changes. If you have not committed those changes and those changes are in the staging area, those would be gone if we use the hard reset. So must use with this with caution. What is git ref log used for? Question number 28. And the answer is git ref log is helpful for recovering lost commits or branches and understanding the sequence of actions taken in the repository. Ref log means reference logs, and it is a great command to recover the lost commits. Or we can also recover the branches, lost branches as well. Question number 29. How do you handle large files with Git? There are large files, video files, audio files. How can we handle those files if they are in the same repository? So we can use Git LFS. I have mentioned this tool in our Git terminologies lecture, and we can use it to store large files outside the Git repository. And LFS stands for large file storage. It is a service which reduces the size of the repositories and improves the performance It also supports various storage providers and integrates seamlessly with Git workflows. So guys, you must know about this service, Git LFS, large file storage. And if someone asks you how we can handle using a third party tool, so we can answer this to handle large files in our Git repository. Question number 30. Define index in Git. Okay, what is an index in Git? And the answer is, before making commits to the changes done, the developer is given provision to format and review the files and make innovations to them. All these are done in the common area which is known as index or staging area. Before running git commit command, we run, that's how we have there are untracked files, there are staging area in which the files are in the staging phase, and then those files are committed. All the files, if they are in the staging area, it is known as the index. Okay, that is actually the simplest and more easier to understand what is an index. The files or the content in the staging area is known as index, and then we run git commit command to commit or push those commands into our repository. What is a PR? Pull request. Question number 31. And in their simplest form, pull requests are a mechanism for a developer to notify the team members that they have completed a feature. There is a team of 5 or 6 developers, and 2 or 3 developers were working on a feature. So after completing this feature and testing it, they will create a pull request, and that pull request would be sent to the development manager, who will review the code, and after everything is fine, that pull request would be accepted and that branch would be merged into the main branch. So once their feature branch is ready, the developer files a pull request via their GitHub account. So that is actually the practice. After the code is reviewed and there are no bugs or anything suspicious in that code or that branch is merged into the main or master branch, and it happens via a pull request. And we will discuss the pull difference between pull and push request in the next upcoming question. Why is a git pull request not called a push request? So this is a little confusing question. Why a pull request is not called a push request? So the difference is, a pull request is me, I'm the developer, then I'm requesting the target repository to please accept my changes. So that is actually the pull request. I'm requesting that I have made those changes, please accept those changes. But in push request, the target repository will request me about the changes, that please, if you're done, you can push those changes. So that is the difference. In pull request, I am requesting the remote repository, target repository, whereas in push request, the target repository is requesting me to push the changes. Question number 33. Can you tell the difference between Git and GitHub? It can be confusing for beginners. They must be thinking that this is the same thing, but no guys. Git is a distributed version control system and we can install it on our local machines, whereas GitHub is a cloud-based source code repository developed by using Git. Actually, the version control behind GitHub is also Git, but it is actually on the cloud. So just like Bitbucket, GitLab CI, and also AWS Code Commit. So these are also, Code Commit is actually a version control. So these are services like Bitbucket and GitLab and GitLab CI. So these are all Git services in the cloud, whereas Git is itself a distributed version control system. Question number 34. The previous question was a little easy. So now, what command helps us No, the list of branches merged to master. I have hundreds of branches that have already been merged into master branch. So how can I get the list of those branches that have been merged? So this is actually the command git branch hyphen hyphen merged. So the above command helps to get the list of the branches that have been merged into the current master or main branch. And next question, question number 35, is also the vice versa of the previous question, and which command to use to get the list of the branches that are not merged. And for merge it is hyphen hyphen merge, and those branches that have not been merged, the command is different a little bit, and that is the change, hyphen hyphen no hyphen merge. And this command will list the branches that have not been merged to the current branch. No merge for the merged branches, no merge for the branches that have not been merged. Question number 36. Do you know any popular version control systems other than Git? It is also a good question, and it is simple, but you must know other version control systems like New Relic, AWS Code Commit, Datadog, Subversion, and above all, AWS Code Commit is one of the important version control systems after Git, and I have seen a number of jobs in which the companies are using AWS code commit for their version control instead of Git. So they use code deploy to deploy that code. So these are other version control systems. Question number 37. What is GitHub personal access token? And you saw that in our how Git works lecture, we actually created a personal access token. So it is an alternative to use password for authentication. We do not have to use password while we are authenticating with our GitHub account. We can use personal access token, and we can revoke when we are done with that personal access token, and it is for authentication to GitHub when using the GitHub API or the command line. Question number 38. Have you ever worked with GitHub CLI? What is it used for? Guys, I gave a short touch with GitHub CLI in our Git commands, and we have actually worked on around 10 different GitHub CLI commands in which we created a GitHub repository, we modified, we renamed, and we also saw GitHub Actions command. So yes, we have worked with GitHub CLI. We will be working with GitHub CLI more in our CI/CD lectures as well. So we can manage our GitHub repositories, issues, pull requests, and even workflows using GitHub CLI commands. GitHub CLI can be installed with apt install gh. Okay. Question number 39. What else we can do more with gh repo command? Okay. We can create gh repo, create our repository name, and there are other functions that we can achieve with GitHub repo. This is actually GitHub CLI. So we can use GitHub gh repo rename to rename the repository name, gh repo list, and it will list down the repositories. So you can remember these are all simple commands: gh repo create, gh repo rename, gh repo list, gh repo view to view the contents of any repository, and gh repo delete and the repo's name to delete a repository. What is the difference between git fork and git clone? Okay, now guys, in Git, the most interview questions in my point of view are the differences actually. What is the difference between git merge and git rebase? What is the difference between git fetch and git pull? What is the difference between git reset and git revert? What is the difference between git fork and git clone? So most of the times these are actually the differences that are asked whenever the interviewer is asking you questions about Git. So what is the difference between git fork and git clone? And the difference is a fork creates a completely independent copy of Git repository. That it would be a complete independent copy, but in contrast to fork, a Git clone creates a linked copy that will continue to synchronize with the target repository. You are changing your repository that are going to be synced with your remote repository, whereas in fork you have the independent copy of your Git repository. Question number 41. What are the three ways to clone a repository from GitHub? And the answer is there are three ways. HTTPS, we can use a secure web URL. SSH, we can use a password based protected SSH keys. And the third is to use GitHub CLI command. Okay, so that's how we can clone a repository from our GitHub account on our local VM. So these are actually the three ways, and most of the time we can use HTTPS. It is actually a simple, and after running the command git clone the URL, it will ask for the token. So that's why we create personal access token. Question number 42. What is a webhook in GitHub? There is a separate option of webhooks in GitHub. What is actually a webhook is not just limited to GitHub. It is used everywhere in our web applications, and it actually allows external services to be notified when certain events happen. These are actually alerts, and when the specified events happen, GitHub sends a post request to notify you that each of the URLs request to each of the URLs that we provide. So it is just like a notification, and when some event occurs, GitHub sends a post request to each of the URLs that we provide. So that is actually a webhook in GitHub. Question number 43. What is a head in Git? And Git head actually is the point of reference. It is a commit actually, and it identifies the current snapshot or commit, just like I said, in the history tree. Okay, where our pointer is pointed, which commit are we pointed at. So that is actually head, and any actions in the working directory or staging area are based on this commit. So that is actually the head. The current commit is the head. Okay, that is the simplest definition. Question number 44. What is the Git storage model? How Git stores and manages and tracks files. So, and the answer is, in Git storage model we have a local working copy, the staging area, and local repository. Now I have also mentioned the differences so that you can better understand. Local working copy, where you directly interact with your files. Staging area or index, as we have discussed what is index. It is actually the staging area, serves as the sort of holding area, and we can change for changes you want to include in your next commit. So all those changes are actually in the staging area before we commit those changes. And the third is local repository, where Git keeps track of the complete history and stores different versions of your file. So that's how the Git storage model works. We have local working copy, we have the staging area, we have local repository, and you can see their differences. Question number 45. How do you find a commit which broke something after a merge operation? And then we can ask the developer, what happened, man? So Git provides a great search facility. That is actually related with Git searching. How we can search a bad commit, how we can search a commit that caused a bug. So it is actually the binary search using Git bisect command. Okay, actually I wanted to share with you guys about the importance of this command, Git bisect, and it works as Git bisect start, which initiates bisecting the session, and then we can find git bisect bad to mark the current version as bad, current revision, the current commit is marked as bad, and then we can use this command git bisect good revision, and it marks the last known commit as the good revision. And so that's how we can fix anything that is broken in our merge operation. Question number 46. What is the make sure that you remember the git bisect command. That would be enough that if you can fix any broken thing in a merge operation on git. So git bisect command, okay? If something is a little bit difficult for you. So question number 46, what is the significance of the master branch in git? Master or main branches are actually the primary branches. That is a simple question. And when we run git init command, the master branch is created by default, and it contains actually the stable version of the code, and we create other branches, feature or stable branches, and we merge their code into the master branch. So master is actually the most important, or we can say the most primary branch, mostly in the IT organization in software development firms. Question number 47. How do I change the URL of a remote Git repository? And the command is git remote set URL origin, and here we can paste the new repository URL. So that's how we can change our Git repositories remote URL. So git remote set URL is the command, okay? Question number 48. How can I see the changes in a commit? And the answer is simple, which is about git show command. And we have used this command in our git commands lecture, and it shows the changes of a specific commit. Git show and the commit ID, then it will tell us what happened actually in that commit, what changes were committed in that specific commit. Git show command. Second last question. What is the command to push all of your chain branches, local branches, to the specified remote? And actually the command is git push, but hyphen all actually pushes all the branches to our remote hosts. So you must know this hyphen all. And also we have discussed git push hyphen force to forcefully push the changes to the remote host, origin. Last question, guys, and it is which command is used to filter the commit history and search by the author name. Okay, someone was working on some specific task and he made some changes. I want to see what those changes were made by that specific author. Then I can use the git log hyphen author is equal to author's name. Like in our git commands lecture, we have used DevOps fella or DevOps girl or DevOps Molvi as author name to find the author in our commit logs. Okay, so that is actually the command git log hyphen author is equal to the author name. So that's it, guys. I would strongly appreciate if you subscribe DevOps Molvi on YouTube. So that would be so nice of you if you subscribe DevOps Molvi on YouTube. We are going to start with our CI/CD lectures very soon. So that was actually the last lecture of our Git series. We have discussed how Git works, what is a Git branch, what is the best Git branching strategy. We also discussed what is Git, and also we discussed 30 Git terminologies and 50 Git commands. Now after that I will create a tiny mini little Git course for you guys, 3 hours of Git. So make sure that you must watch this Git course to clear all the concepts of Git. I will see you in our CI/CD lectures. Make sure that you must subscribe DevOps Molvi, because something super exciting is going to be on this channel regarding CI/CD, and CI/CD is the backbone of DevOps. I will see you in those lectures. Take care. Have a nice weekend. Bye.